Hey everybody, what's going on? It's Chris Fury, your man on the wall. What's happening? I got my partner with me, Traci Carr. What's going on, Traci?
Oh, what up, dude? How's it going?
We got a great show tonight lined up.
Oh, yes,
we have a very, very special guest. I really don't want to keep her back there waiting because I've been watching her work for quite a while. She's interviewed some great artists that work in the acting world and behind the camera, in front of the camera, in books and everything. She's going to be talking to us tonight about her new book, Protectors of Wakanda. But before we get to her, remember to hit that notification bell on the YouTube channel. You'll get the latest and greatest in Blurred's Eye View news. You can also follow us on the Opulence Radio app, as well as listen to us anywhere you listen to your podcast, including iHeartRadio. But without further ado, I want to bring on to our guest, Karama Horne, aka the Blurred Girl.
You even have sound effects and everything. What's up?
What's going on? There we go. Y'all, I didn't pay y'all to just come in here and not sit. So come on. All right.
That is very sweet, right? And then abrupt. How are y'all doing tonight? How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good, busy, but hanging in there. I heard, Traci, I heard you just kind of ran in from work. Are you all right? You need a drink of water? Are you okay?
No, I kind of was just like, they were like, hey, you still got like a few minutes left to work. I was like, I gotta go.
Yeah.
I gotta go.
It's time to work. We would have to have good fun.
Got the Blurred Girl on. I'm not staying.
Yeah. This pretty much this the look that Traci's giving them every time they tell her she got to stay over. She's like, yeah.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, like, really? Am I really staying?
No.
I'm
very anti-capitalist when it comes to
yeah. yeah, she's giving them all these looks here, you know. So,
y'all are hilarious.
Oh my God. So I have followed your work for quite a while, and
thank you.
I'm in awe because it's people like yourself and Straw Hat Goofy and people that in that realm that
Straw Hat Goofy's killing it. Straw Hat Goofy's killing it.
Yes. And these are people who I follow and inspire. And there's something else I want to bring to mind. You put out a media kit.
Yeah, I'm actually going to be doing a lot more of that because I want to help more creators do more of what I'm doing. So that's just the beginning.
and you know what? And this is dope because I remember you putting up a post and talking about why people of color, mainly women and black men of color, needing media kits so we get more recognition and be more taken seriously. I guess you could say the word.
Yeah, it's really one of those things where because you'll hear a lot of white creators say like, no one's ever asked me for a media kit. They just approached me because they like my following or whatever. You could have more following or whatever, but if it's going to come to, oh, but do they know how to be professional? Do they know how to really do this? That's where the media kit will basically answer those questions. Because I regularly have people ask me that, and I'm like, oh yeah, sure, here. And they're like, oh, I'm like, yeah, I've been doing this a minute.
Yeah.
You know.
Get back.
I mean, here's the thing. I tell people a lot that one of my favorite Black Lady Sketch Show, shout out. They got Emmy noms and everything. But one of my favorite sketches on that show is the, undercover sister, because she's always there, nobody sees her. And that's literally just been basically my journey. Like, I'm always there, nobody realizes I'm there. And I'm like, okay, where'd you learn all this? Like, same place you did, on the same shoot and the same show. But all right. Okay.
Oh man, before we dive any deeper, I got some of the good stuff to talk about. So here we go. First on the docket, Miss Marvel.
I just have to say, when my live show comes back, I'm gonna have to get y'all to do my effect. They're not as good as this.
Painstakingly.
Oh my God.
That's a lot on Chris. That's a lot.
That's painstakingly done by yours truly. I
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a perfectionist.
That's awesome.
But so we got episode 6 of the season finale of Miss Marvel, which, by the way, great job by Imani Vellani in the cast and crew. They show a great style of representation of a brown girl from Jersey City. And let's face it, we always wanted to see Miss Marvel on the screen. Anyway, she's fangirling as much as we fangirl and fanboy about any of the Marvel or DC properties that comes out. And I just want your thoughts. So we'll start with the Blurred Girl herself, since she's our guest. What were your thoughts? And then we're going to get to that little teaser at the end of those.
The teaser and the after credit scene. Yes. No, I really liked the show. Like every show I watched, it wasn't perfect, but it was really up there, and it's actually one of my favorites. I did a live stream for Marvel with Fantastic Frankie Smith yesterday, and we had the same response, and that is that this is probably, of the Disney Plus shows that we have now seen, I would put this as my second or third favorite. Like, it's really
amazing.
And I love the representation. I believe her name is Iman Vellani.
Iman, yeah, it is Iman. It is Iman.
And I think Iman is really she is Miss Marvel. There was she encapsulates it as that innocence and that drive. It's really funny. There are things that they changed from the comic, but I wanted them to change them, and I liked that. It didn't bother me that they changed their powers, because I knew they were going to change them for a reason. Mm-hmm. One of those reasons, I believe, has to do with what happened at the end of the episodes. But I thought it was fantastic. I thought, I knew about the partition, but I from people who I know who are Southeast Asian, I don't remember ever learning about it in school. And I don't think what I did read about it, it was just very cursory. So I love the fact that they dove into that. There are so many Pakistani Americans and just Pakistanis, period, that have that time in their lives, or their grandparents. We talk about intergenerational trauma. Whenever we use those terms, we are often just thinking about African Americans, but there is a trauma there for second and third generation immigrants, or Pakistani as well. And I just thought that was, not only was it, because it was, if you read about the real partition, it's a bloody, horrible mess.
Yeah, it's definitely.
But it was handled with care. It was handled well, so we understood what was going on. And it was also handled for Disney Plus in a way that I think was great for kids. Also, I just liked the fact that I feel like this show, more than any other Disney Plus show, tied in really well to the MCU. I could see where it came in, and I could see where it's going. Where a lot of the other ones, it was like, where are we? What's happening?
A little bit of Phase 4 stuff.
Yeah. And then, for instance, Loki. I know we're getting a season 2 of Loki, but Loki is in the main timeline, is dead. So he always is going to have to be in an alternate universe or come from an alternate universe, so there's certain things that were that was, and What If, shout out to What If, also got Emmy nominations.
Yes.
Thank you, Chadwick.
Yes. But I definitely think that this series did an incredible job, and it did have some episodes that weren't that great, but I think it was because of the fact that they have this timing issue. The only complaint I really have is WandaVision had 9 episodes. It came out first because of their crazy schedule, even though, as a lot of people already know, WandaVision was supposed to come out after Multiverse of Madness, which explains some of the issues with Multiverse of Madness. But it had 9 episodes. I believe Falcon and Winter Soldier had 9. And then everything after that got 8 and then 6. They started dropping in this 6 episodes, this 6 hour. If it's 6 hours, it's a miniseries to me. It's not a...
Yeah.
So I really felt this especially was one of those series that could have used 1 or 2 more episodes. That episode 5 felt like 3 episodes in one. All the things that happened. So so that's my general thoughts on the entire series, but I really enjoyed it.
I mean, I can just watch Miss Marvel just in general. So give me more episodes, and I'll be totally down for that. But I agree with all your points just now. That was fantastic. Thank you. I do want to say, like, I do like how they tied in a lot of real world issues in this one too, especially with the representation. And since you mentioned like trauma, I did like the fact that the community there were so willing to push back and stand their ground. And when they first walked in there, they're like, "Can we see you?" And they're just like, "Yeah, we're ready. We're this is our first rodeo. Come on now, like we're here."
And you know what?
Since y'all
to that end, I also think that Bruno, it's really funny. As much as Bruno was a friend of the families, and as much as Bruno thought he was helping, he speaks fluent Urdu. He was like bringing Karama into the mosque, and they were like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Sanctuary." They were like, "Not in this country."
No.
Yes.
Exactly.
And she walked in and was like, "IDs." They were like they just, you know,
yeah,
they're
the
just.
IDs, that's the part I was like, they were just like, yeah, IDs, sure.
And also, Department of Damage Control, not for nothing, Department of Damage Control acted very differently in Spider-Man.
They did.
Who they actually thought had killed people. They were gonna bring him in alive. They were busting holes.
Like,
yeah,
exactly. You would be surprised.
They were problematic. My goodness.
They were. That woman was very problematic.
But at the same time, I'm happy Marvel did that though, because it's
Me
like
too.
compared it to the real world, like that's some situations that will probably have like real world answers to that, because we see how Black and brown people are compared to white folks when they're in trouble. So like trouble. So like,
right.
So we know these, like, so it was good to see that. And it also I always fills my heart when I see that, like, a community band together, and I saw the phones coming out. I was like, yeah, always film that. Like, always film that. Thank you. Come on, Marvel. So there's a few things in there that I picked up on. I was just like, you know what? I like this. I like this camaraderie. I love this coming together and protecting of our own. And like all these characters come together, this whole family come together, and it's just I thought it was beautiful, that whole sequence at the end. And she was always
stunning. Yeah,
right?
It was emotional.
Yeah, emotional, and always protecting everyone.
I mean, from the community down to the family, which the family was the community, so it was like it was interchangeable. Even when that final battle scene, when Cameron's just pretty much losing control, and he's just like, screw it, and she protects him and lets him, run free. And the community protects her, because they're like, "Oh yeah, did you not just see what she's done, and yet you're still trying?" No, not here, not today, not today. We're not having that.
That was cool. So
and honestly, Cameron, I mean, think about it. In the span of 4 hours, he breaks out of jail. He has all these powers that just come into him. He can't figure out what's happening. He feels like he's breaking into, and then he finds out his mother's dead. Like,
it's a lot.
Even without powers, I think I would be kind of stressed out.
I haven't even had a moment to use the bathroom.
Exactly.
Things after things, and I tore my heart apart when he said the line, like, I feel like I'm getting torn from the inside.
Yeah.
And like just the emotions that he was going through. So it's one of those moments where you can think of like someone going through a traumatic moment and they just need their space and care, but they have no idea how to handle all that, so it tends to come out the lashing out, and especially if someone has powers. Like, it's just gonna come, like, to a point where it's just like, whoa, that's a lot coming out of you right now.
And can I just say, every time there is either a Southeast Asian show or movie, or Pakistani show or movie, and there's some kind of celebration, I live for dancing. I'm sorry,
that wedding was awesome. That wedding was awesome.
I did want to hear the what's it called, Brown Jovi.
They're real. They're real. No, they're real. I found them on TikTok.
Oh, they're real.
They're real. Brown Jovi's a real band in Jersey City, and they're on TikTok.
Oh my God! Now I gotta go find them, because
I was definitely gonna find them, but I just wanted them to be like, oh man, they could have had that as like another scene.
Yeah.
Like, bring the show back just so we can have like a little moment with Brown Jovi.
I will say that the second in command of the Department of Damage Control, she was extremely problematic.
Yeah.
Even when the lead told her to stand down, he was like, "No, stand down, come back, call it off," and she's just like.
He was like, He was like, yeah, we have to, figure out what the problem is, but you're not shooting kids at a high school today. Hello?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And once it all blew up in her face and everything, he was just like, you're done. You're off duty, blah, blah, blah. Call it in. No discussion.
He's like, yeah, we got to clean up your mess.
Yeah.
And
I was gonna mention something about that, because like I kind of like how they did the representation of that.
Yeah.
I kind of like, because like a lot of times, like when it comes to folks being like adamant about something, it's usually a certain demographic. Like even working with abortion rights right now, I'm organizing with a lot of folks right now. There's a certain demographic that's taking over that as well. That feels a little bit more righteous. So it's kind of the representation I saw now, which is like, y'all are hitting something right here.
They're figuring it out.
Yeah.
We get two amazing scenes at the end of this episode. One of them is Bruno before he goes off to Caltech, or before his light night on the town with the girls. That didn't sound right at all. That didn't sound right at all. But he says there's something. He says there's something wrong with your genetic or he says that your genetic makeup is different. And sure enough, you hear the X-Men theme song played real quick, and you're just like, "Oh God, Kamala's a mutant." Kevin Feige, you did it again.
And you know what's really funny? I had the captions on, and in the captions it says playing X-Men 97 theme. I was like, even people who can't hear, yeah. I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
They are. Oh my God! Yes, mutant Q theme song.
Yes, exactly.
It was, and the funny thing was, Kamala's just kind of like, yeah, whatever. Car keys, please. She's like, nothing else matters. Car keys right now.
Exactly. Like, we gotta go.
Beyond that,
how subtle they make things, though. I do like how subtle they make things. They're like, we're gonna give you little like crumbs and see where you go with that. It's like little subtle touches. I love that.
Nice little odds. And then they finally, in this extra credit scene, we get a weird thing happening where Kamala gets sucked into, I don't know, portal type, and pops out or transfers places with Carol Danvers, in which Carol's looking around and she's like, oh crap. Like, I'm in somebody's room who idolizes
who might
me.
Be a stalker. I don't know what's happening. Like, what? Poor thing.
Oh my God. Say what they want. Look, yes. I was thinking mega bands.
No. They're absolutely. Hey, Quinn, what's up? How you doing? Oh, my whole crew's coming. This is awesome. Yeah. They're absolutely nega bands, and I'm glad you put that on the screen, because every time I have to say it, they're like, people are saying what? I'm like, nega band. That goes back to the comics. Now, this is all speculation, but they're acting like what the nega bands used to do, which is slingshot one person to another person who is wearing the bands. You just swap places. And it was a form of travel, literally interstellar travel. And so the only strange thing that people were saying was she's only wearing one band. It didn't look like Carol was wearing any bands, and it's like, but we don't know.
Because Carol has a habit of coming in, doing Hail Mary saves, and then having to leave to go somewhere else. So
right.
We don't know what Carol's been up to.
We don't know. And also, but what the thing that is nice about that is it's a very subtle nod. The more I know, Louis, you're so cute. The funny thing about that is it's a subtle nod to two things. In the comics, at one point, or the very first time Kamala changes form, because Carol Danvers is her hero, she physically looks like Carol. She becomes blonde and blue-eyed and everything. And that was one of the things that I was hoping they would not do in the show, and they didn't. But this is a subtle callback to that. And then the other thing is, with just the nega bands and everything like that. Yeah, Carol got powered by the Tesseract. And exactly. And the Flurkin, aka the cat, the Flurkin still, had that thing before it went to S.H.I.E.L.D. And we don't know. Remember, she can jump in time, so we don't know where she's coming from or when, really.
Where she's universe, like, Carol's always been all over the universe, protecting over here, protecting over there. She'll make a cameo.
Yeah, she just has a habit of popping in and out. I mean,
Yeah.
if you look at it, she has long hair again. When we last seen Carol, she had short hair.
Right. And so we don't know.
The little braids on the side.
And we don't know where she, and that's the funny thing is when she had braids on the side, I feel like Monica Rambeau was younger. So maybe she popped in from that time. We don't know. But the wonderful thing is
there's so much filler.
It's a beautiful setup. And it's a beautiful setup for Marvel's, the movie coming out. The other thing I liked about it is it is if you squint, it is quite possible that it's Kree technology. And so we don't know if that's gonna happen or not. I also think that the agent that was back in the Department of Damage Control, the one that called back Agent Deaver, the one that was really horrible.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird because he didn't go out in the field and stuff like that. We did see him in Spider-Man, and he strangely knew where Nick Fury was. Like, why would you know that? So I'm wondering whether or not he's a Skrull.
Makes a lot of sense. I mean, because we have a lot still running about.
So yeah, all of that. Yeah, I kind of yelled from the X-Men theme all the way through the end of that episode. I was just screaming in my house.
There was a lot of moments I'm sitting there like, oh, they just opened that door. Oh, it's going to get anybody who says that phase 4 is like, we don't know what's going on. I'm like, you have no clue. But fans who's read and been imbued with this stuff, people in the square right now, like we know, like there's something major coming. We know Secret Wars is coming because we've been getting incursions and everything else. You know what? We still got Shang-Chi. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
you know
that's true.
Play the X-Men thing that the Mega Man triggered her latent. It's so much.
So many possibilities.
Quit. I completely agree with that, though. That her mutation was triggered because everybody's other mutation. This is the other thing. Most of the X-Men's mutations were triggered by puberty or a brush with death. Yeah. Right. So
and she's had both.
Right. So I think that the fact that like it was this band, and it still gave us enough, even though bringing in the clandestines was a reach, like that was a thread that they put. Like, you remember how in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. they would bring up a character and you would go and be like, they ain't use that character since 1957. Who is this? So yeah, the clandestines, I'm like, wow, that's a reach, but okay.
That was a reach. I was like, oh, they're using them. Right. Okay. It was the 90s, whatever. So in other Blurred news, we've got 8 nominations for Moon Knight. One of those nominations, outstanding character voiceover performance by F. Murray Abraham.
I mean, yeah, outstanding, but it's F. Murray Abraham. Come on,
exactly. Yeah, like he's up there with James Earl Jones, Morgan Freeman. Like, he's up there in that category. Outstanding cinematography, which it really was.
It really was. Yeah,
the scenes where he turns the days back to see how the stars looked.
Exactly.
I'm like, this was gorgeous. Yes. I'm like, this is beautiful. Outstanding fantasy or sci-fi costumes, outstanding music composition, yes. Outstanding sound editing, outstanding sound mixing, stunt coordination, and stunt performance for limited drama series or anthology. And I will tell you, when Oscar Isaac was just in the Mr. Knight suit and really learning his role,
it was hilarious.
It was. He like this move gets me all the time. He's just like, pop, pop. And I'm like, did you like brush your whole shoulder off in mid-fight? The flex was there. It was just,
that was a little thing from the comics that I liked that made it in. And it's really funny. I clocked the third personality. I didn't know which one they were going to bring in, but I clocked that there was a third presence really early because there was a couple times that they were both confused, and I'm like, "There's the third one.
There's Jake.
There's a third personality in there.
There's Jake, and and the title sequence always had 3, so you knew there was going to be 3. But yeah, and then bringing Jake in, and he's Latin, and that's Oscar Isaac. I thought that was awesome.
Mm-hmm. I actually love what they do with all the shows, where these send you little simple nods and everything else. But Hawkeye gets 2 nominations. Now,
that was surprising. That was surprising.
For those, they included stunt coordination for a comedy series or variety program and outstanding stunt performance. And I can see that too. However, I'm still waiting on Yelena and Kate Bishop spinoff. I would like to see those two.
The chemistry between them two is amazing.
It was.
I love their scenes together.
Like even when they were fighting, and it was just like, this is cute. And yet, I still need more of that.
The little yin and yang.
Yelena was like, my sister. She's like, Yelena was like, I never had a little sister, and now I know why my sister. She was just like, yeah, this is what I was putting Natasha through. Okay, I get it now. So there was that. What If gets 3 noms.
And an animated. And here's the thing. That doesn't surprise me so much because the Emmys have always had an animated category. That's something that is a little bit newer, younger, I should say, for the Oscars. But I completely agree with this. I mean, the animation that we saw, the storytelling, I'm surprised because I felt What If of all of the series, of all the shows, What If was the one that I felt if you've never seen the MCU, this is going to be confusing.
Oh, yes.
But that's why I'm so surprised that it got nominated, because usually they don't go for that. If it's like a really deep cut, they're like, yeah, let the geeks have that one.
Yeah. And for their Emmy noms, it included Outstanding Animated Program, Character Voiceover Performance by the late Chadwick Boseman, and Character Voiceover Performance done by Jeffrey Wright.
Yes, which I thought was amazing. I'm a huge Jeffrey Wright fan, though.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome guy.
They should definitely give their props to Jeffrey Wright.
Jeffrey Wright deserves all of the things. Also, if you follow
he's all
him,
over the place.
If you're not following him on Twitter, you need to, because he tells off racists every day, and it's so much fun to watch.
People's.
It's awesome. I also saw him.
People's energy.
Exactly. And the last time I went to a live concert, which I think was Afropunk 2019, I saw he brought on Bad Brains.
Ooh.
It was like a Living Color Bad Brains thing, and he walked on and was the MC, and I'm like, I can die right now.
Jeez.
It was awesome.
Man. Loki gets 6 noms.
I can see that.
Yes. Outstanding Productions Design for a Narrative Period or Fantasy Program. Outstanding Cinematography photography for a single camera series. Outstanding Fantasy Sci-Fi Costumes. Outstanding Music Composition in a Series Original Dramatic Score, because yes, that score. Outstanding Original Main Title Theme Music and Outstanding Sound Editing for a Comedy or Drama Series for a 1 hour show. Yes, that title song, their title music for this show was it's strong. It hits like yeesh. It was intense.
I completely agree. I do think that one of the reasons why I wasn't surprised about Loki is because to me it felt so much like Doctor Who, and there's a lot. There are fans that consider Doctor Who sort of elevated sci-fi, which I think is hilarious because it used to be some of the cheesiest stuff on TV.
It really was.
But it has.
And I'm a Whovian. It truly was.
Right. Since the Chris Eccleston, since it came back, I think it's considered, also more international. So it didn't surprise me because it definitely felt, and it had moments. The thing that Doctor Who also has, it has these moments that feel like stage plays, where it's just 2 people talking and actually acting, not always running around. So I said, if they're going to nominate anything, it's going to be Loki. However, Wunmi Masaku was robbed. Gugu and Betha Raw was robbed. Jonathan Majors was robbed. I needed them to all be nominated. So
yes. That
was my only issue.
Yeah. Every time I see those actors, and I just think of Lovecraft Country, and I just think of what we could have had in a season 2. Oh my god! Yeah, it was but still amazing. Yep.
That's just feel like a nice little prayer.
Thank you, Quinn.
Just come back.
Boba Fett which we like to call The Mandalorian 2.5.
Yeah.
We got 4 Emmy noms, including Outstanding Sound Editing for a Comedy or Drama Series, Outstanding Special Visual Effects, Outstanding Sci-Fi Costumes, Outstanding Stunt Coordination for a Drama Series, Limited or Anthology Series or Movie.
Yes, I can see all that, especially the when he was living with the Tusken Raiders.
Yes.
All of that.
Nice backstory. Really nice backstory.
Very nice backstory. It was also a lot of people felt it took too long or whatever, and it's so funny because a lot of the people that were complaining about this show and wanting it to be a whole other thing, and I'm going, I literally had to go back and look, and I'm like, Boba Fett had, like, in all of the Star Wars movies, not the animated series or anything like that, but in the actual movies, the ones that most of the people that were complaining about, he had like 7 minutes total on screen. I said, so you're really upset that you're not seeing something play out in your head that you used to basically do with your action figures. Like, that's because he has no backstory.
Yeah, I mean, that's most, like, it's weird when fandom gets to that point. It's like, what were you expecting?
They're literally,
like, he got out the Sarlacc pit. That's all.
Nobody
don't get too much else.
I am convinced that nobody hates Star Wars as much as Star Wars fans.
That is a constant.
It's just
I think the biggest, like, when I'm in a Star Wars group, and I'm in a few of them, of course, like, I think the biggest chat I've ever been in was one that was like literally 5,000 comments based on The Last Jedi, and I was just like,
okay,
y'all,
so bad.
I'm done.
I stay away from those.
They make it hard. They make it so hard. I'm like, why are you making this more difficult than it needs to be?
I woke up one morning, I was like,
well, I think this is the other thing Star Wars has in terms of science fiction, and it's funny, there are things that are older. Like, I remember when Foundation came out and people were like, oh, it's not as good as Star Wars. I'm like, George Lucas took stuff from Foundation, the book, to create Star Wars. That's how old the story is. But like Foundation, Dune, things like that, those were all out around the same time where everybody was doing this otherworldly thing with Asian and African influences and calling it space. And it was interesting to me because the fandom, as well as the show, I've always thought in terms of Star Wars, the Star Wars meme with 2 Star Wars fans fighting each other while the 3rd Star Wars fan watches. Yes, it's accurate. Exactly. You're absolutely right, Quinn. I grew up in a Trek household. And I'm not saying Trek is better than Star Wars. I'm just saying I've always felt Star Trek's show, as well as the fandom, has been more inclusive. I've never had to fight a Star Trek fan about. They will fight you chapter and verse on which thing happened in what episode.
Definitely.
But it's very rare that, and I shouldn't. And I'm not saying people like the newer stuff. You're going to find racists everywhere. But when I'm just talking to somebody about a show, it's very rare that, because Deep Space Nine exists, because Uhura has been around since the 70s, you might not like Captain Burnham or Discovery, but I don't hear too many people complain about, to me anyway, about it being, or her being black, or there being black people in Star Trek. I hear we don't like the writing, we don't like the show, we don't like all of this realism, we don't like that. Star Wars, it's always, I'm always seeing in the comments racism first. And it's the most bizarre thing.
It's weird. It's weird. It's very weird. Like, do they just think like Aldo Calrissian was just the one black person just in space of all time? And they're like, it's not racist. We had Lando, and I'm like, you only had one though. And here's the other thing, also. What makes me also laugh, and Lord of the Rings is going to have the same problem. We have all these prequels that are coming out that are now inclusive and have all these brown people and everything, which means your favorites wipe them out. Because when you look at the future stories and there's no brown people, what did you do to them? Y'all got
where did they go? Where did they go?
To do. Like, excuse me, sir.
Excuse me.
Yeah, everybody, and I'm not saying. Exactly. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have black fairies and black fays and everything like that in Lord of the Rings. I love it. But so someone's going to explain who wiped them out before we got to the first movie.
They just magically disappear. Or they're over there just hanging out.
Right. Somebody in the comments is saying Game of Thrones. Yeah, Game of Thrones is about to have the same problem.
Yeah. They're going to pick it apart. They're going to pick it apart.
I think Game of Thrones.
No matter what you do.
Yes.
No matter what you do.
Yes. So, but I that was my only thing with Loki. I really enjoyed that show. I mean, Loki's one that is up there for me as well. Hopefully they just left Middle Earth.
Kind of makes sense. Just kind of makes sense.
They just packed up.
Like, you know what? This ain't for us. So we just gonna go ahead and let y'all deal with it. We're gonna go ahead and go.
No, you know what? They did. They're gonna make their own planet or their own section of the planet, and it's just elves, nobody else. Oh wait, no, that's Krakoa. Sorry. Sorry.
That's just like when Simba's talking to Mufasa. He was like, "What is that, Dad?" That's the Shadowlands. We do not.
Right. We don't. Right. We don't know them.
So
we don't know them.
Chadwick Boseman posthumously received a Emmy nom, as mentioned earlier, through What If. His episode, let's just say what it is, was a tearjerker because there were lines that he said that were so close to what was happening or what had happened to him prior to this.
Yeah.
I can't. It's hard to watch that episode. It's really hard to watch that episode.
It is. And the thing that was wonderful, though, about it was I loved, unlike James Earl Jones's voice in Obi-Wan, which was computer generated based on his original voice, just about everything that we heard from Chadwick was him. They had him recorded. They clearly at that point knew he was sick. So I think they had him recorded way ahead of time.
Not only that, but it was the way he read that role. They were looking at trying to do a spinoff of that version of T'Challa, that to the point they wanted to do a cartoon spinoff, and they wanted to bring that version of T'Challa to the live action, and obviously that didn't come to play.
Yeah. But that version of Killmonger might be who we're seeing in Michael B. Jordan now that we have a multiverse of madness.
Oh boy.
That's gonna be
well, there's two theories for me on that. I think they're gonna bring this version of Killmonger from What If. If not, there is one comic, and I cannot remember if Christopher Priest or somebody else wrote it in the Black Panther run, where Killmonger is dead, and Shang-Chi's father brings him back with the rings.
I believe it was Priest.
Okay.
I believe
now, and it was short-lived. It was very creepy, but it did happen. So there is precedence if we were going to have Shang-Chi in there too, in some way, shape, or form. But I'm more interested in how they're bringing in Namor. But the problem is, if they're bringing in Namor, we know more Wakandans are going to die. That makes me mad. You know somebody else is going to have to die.
That battle's got to happen.
Yeah, it does. It does. It has to happen. But we've already seen the Illuminati in Multiverse of Madness. So maybe we'll have another Illuminati. Maybe. We'll see.
Before we get into talking about your book, speaking of Wakandas, we have a little giveaway to do. So here we go. Get this up here. This is The Contractor, so starring Chris Pine. So here's the read for it.
Own The Contractor on Blu-ray today, starring Chris Pine. Pine plays a discharged elite special forces sergeant desperate to provide for his family. When he takes on a private military forces contract, he uncovers a deep conspiracy, sending him on the run for his life. Buy The Contractor and watch it today. Rated R from Paramount Pictures. Own The Contractor on Blu-ray today, starring Chris Pine. Pine plays a discharged elite special force.
It's not supposed to say it twice.
We can edit that in post.
Yeah, we put it in post.
I was like, he's doing a lot of running away.
Yeah. But if you want to own a copy of this, which I have several copies. Go like the post. # Chris Pine. And I will pick you from the crowd on YouTube or on Facebook, and I will get you out a copy. But because we have the Blur Girl as a guest, she gets a copy automatically.
Oh,
yeah.
So,
thank you. I'm like, I'm getting Gifts and
So after the show, I'll get your information, or I'll text you and whatever, and we'll get the information. And I'll get it sent out to you.
Thank you.
But do we have time? Yeah, we got time. Let's talk about.
We have plenty of time for the Blerd Girl.
Yeah, we got plenty of
time. Like, let's pump her
so
up.
Let me get my little piece going here.
Yeah.
But that was good for our Blerd news. So there. Right, we
I love
have
that.
with
That's
us.
so awesome. I'm coming back. When I come back, I'm gonna have sound effects and graphics. Lou and Quinn, y'all see this? We're doing all this.
Do all the sound effects, do everything you need.
I'm gonna get me exactly. I gotta get one of those.
I'm telling you, if you guys don't take care of her, she's gonna give you the look. She's gonna give you that look.
All right, we gotta do it all together.
So we have with us Karama Horne, also known as the Blerd Girl. She's a writer, journalist, just an avid reader of comics. She's done Marvel voices. She's here to talk to us about us. I wish she was.
I will talk about.
Talk to us about her new book, The Protectors of Wakanda. And this is something I'm looking very much forward to. So I don't know if you want to start off, Traci, or if you want me to go ahead, or if you want to go ahead, but
you can start.
Okay. Okay. We'll give you the first one. What can we expect from this book?
That's not a small question at all. So I will give you a hint. If you are already following Marvel.com, or if you Google what does it take to become Dora Milaje, you'll probably land on the Marvel page, and they actually have pages now up from the book. Mm-hmm. So what you're getting is this. It's a YA novel, first of all. Oh, thank you. Yes. It is a YA novel. Can we drop it in the chat too for people that are hanging out? Yes. It's a YA novel that is basically explaining how the Dora Milaje, not only how they came to be, but some of the history of the Black Panther kings of Wakanda, as well as what it takes to actually be one. Everything from mental to physical to spiritual training, graduation, and then what happens after. Because I think one of the things that when this was brought to me, one of the things that I always said is, you have the movies, but this book is not based on the movies. This book is based on the comics. But everybody knows the Dora. I think the majority of people know the Dora that are not comic book readers from the movies, and they see the same 2, 3, 4 women, or 10 women when you're thinking of the fights and stuff like that. But for comic book readers, Doom Wars, there were hundreds of them. And I always wondered, like, when he was like, all right, we're going to have to get all the Dora back here and train them to fight Doom. I was like, okay, but how? How did they amass 500 women? Where did they come from? How did that work? And so that is sort of the impetus for figuring all of, creating this world. It is not the thing that I was allowed to do, which is amazing, was create their origin story. That part of which is already up on Marvel's page, which I'm a little bummed about because I wanted that to be a surprise. But the
Marvel.
But the other thing that is interesting is the concept of each of the sisters taking care of each other. So the book itself, in Worlds, is a tome that was found, like, in the universe that I'm writing this book. So it's a journal, and every Dora gets a journal. And each Dora, as they go through training, they, make notes and things like that. But then they graduate, and then that book gets passed down to a Dora that is coming up. So this journal has entries from several different Dora, several different people, some alive, some dead, some. So it was part of it, an initiate. I don't want to say initiation, but it kind of was. It is taking place. I don't even want to say taking place because it jumps all over the map in terms of the
time period.
Yeah, the time period, because it depends on who's writing it. But I was able to, when I was writing it in my mind, this part didn't make it into the book, and I'm a little sad about it. But when in my mind when I was writing it, this is a book that Okoye was presented with after the intergalactic saga ended, and they were putting everything back together. Ta-Nehisi Coates' run, they're putting everything back together, and the Dora Milaje, she was going to open the school again, and that meant a point up, you know, and you can think of all the different runs that were happening during that World of Wakanda. What happened to the leader of the Dora? Oh, sorry, I don't know what that was, but wait, I'm still here. I'm still here. The you know, the Dora Milaje, the in the comics, the
because I think they had like 4 titles going, maybe.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, there was. There's World of Wakanda.
I was grabbing every last one.
Yes, and they tried to bring back the crew, but that didn't last. That was the other project that they worked on. Yeah, I know. It was sad. I was upset. But that is really sort of in my mind. That's where it took place, and then I wanted to know who taught them stuff. Like, think about it. When we saw Falcon and Winter Soldier, and Io was basically breaking Bucky out of his programming, and she had been working with him and training him. In my mind, I was like, how did she learn how to do that? Where did that come from? So it was all those different levels of things that I was, and you know, so that's long, very long story short. It's sort of where the book stands in the universe of the comics, because there are so many things going on, and I know that this whole new initiative with the Avengers and everything that's like coming out now, and that my book was coming out after. I was given strict rules, like stay away from the Avengers, stay away from this, stay away from that, because I knew stuff was coming. I just didn't know what it was. Now there's things dropping, and I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
We don't want to intermingle, not yet.
Right, not yet.
Oh my goodness.
I have to admit though, after seeing the little clips of your book and reading a little bit about it, I actually immediately watched the Viola Davis trailer. I was just like, this is that spirit all right here.
Yeah, and it's so funny because I had no idea anything about that movie until very recently, and then I was like, what? And it's coming out like a week before my book drops, and I'm like,
oh, that is just perfect.
It is.
Timing.
It really is.
For the record, I had learned about the homie Amazon warrior women about 15 years ago, and I'm like, why have I never heard of these women before? You know, obviously Black history. But the first time we actually see them was on an episode. I believe it was episode 5 or 7. I have to look.
Oh, Lovecraft Country.
Here it is. Yes.
She named herself. The woman who named herself. That
episode. Yes. I Am. That was the episode. It was called I Am.
Right.
And now I was like, oh, they finally did it. They finally did it. And then this movie with Viola Davis comes out, and I'm like,
that was such an incredible. Oh my gosh.
And they were, and yes, the Dora are loosely based off this tribe.
Here's the thing, and this is, and not to actually you, because I hate when people do that.
Please, actually, but I need to know.
It's something, and no, but this is something that I had to be very cognizant of, because there's so many people that know the Dora only from the movies and not from the comics.
Right.
So when Christopher Priest first came up with the Dora, he wasn't thinking of the homie.
Right.
He wasn't, because remember, they were in New York City with T'Challa. It was a whole other thing.
Yeah, they were like young, almost like child brides. Well,
they were. Well, here's the thing. No. And actually, I'm so happy you said that, because one of the earliest meetings I had with Marvel was, oh my God, but they were child brides. We can't talk about child brides. And I'm like, they weren't. Go back and read the comic again. They were like not child brides.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the word. It was
they called him beloved. But here's the thing. Remember, Christopher Priest wrote Black Panther from the perspective of Ross. He never wrote it from T'Challa's perspective because he didn't think that white audiences would care about what a black man thought. So he wrote it from the white guy's perspective. Ross was the one that was looking at them like, oh my God, they're so sexy, but they're like, oh, they're in high school. I could go to jail. He was the one that was looking at him like a child predator.
Yeah.
Not T'Challa. Yeah. So one of the things that it was so funny because in an early meeting I had, and I am allowed to say
he was actually tricked by one of them.
Right. Well, he was not. No. He was not tricked by one. He was tricked by Mephisto.
Yeah.
He was tricked by Mephisto.
And just tricks people and leaves.
That's it. Yes. Yeah, honestly, he's still tricking people because people still think he's in the MCU and he's not even there. So he stays tricking people.
He's like, I gotcha. No. Gotcha. You thought that was me, didn't you? Gotcha.
So so the whole thing with the Dormalagia, the way I quelled everybody's fears was in my canon, I if you squint, I'm not going to tell you where it is in the book, but if you squint, somebody does make a comment about that. And the fact that everybody thought they were in high school, but they were not. They were basically like 19 and 20 years old. And when somebody asked me how I was going to prove it, I'm like, you've never met a black woman that looks younger than she actually is? I'm not
you're looking anything. At two right now.
I'm like, I'm not proving.
You're looking at two right now.
I'm not proving anything.
It's kind of like factual at this point.
Right.
You know?
I'm like, I'm not proving anything. I'm using what was there. And this is not, I'm not saying anything bad about Christopher Priest. He wrote what he wrote and it's still, but Ross was the only one who thought they were children and still was trying to get with them, which was problematic.
They made Ross very much comedy relief.
Yes, almost. Exactly. Even all the stuff with, Mephisto finding him in the bathroom and all kind of stuff, so, but yeah,
I'll never forget that one. I forgot about it.
Like every time something with Mephisto comes out, I'm like, this is so left out of field.
Ross is literally sitting on the toilet when Mephisto pops up.
All right, cool, bro. You're the most chaotic thing.
Oh my goodness. Well, see, you already answered the other question I had about General Okoye about being introduced to any other generals past or present. So you kind of answered that one.
You absolutely will. I mean, even if you've read Ta-Nehisi Coates' run, you'll know that he really put a lot of lore in there, and I pulled from that lore. And one of the things
and everything else.
And here's the thing that I've also had to explain to people, like the Orisha that he talks about, because there's people that are Yoruba that's like, well, that's not Orisha, the gods of Wakanda, because he pulls from, and the funny thing is he does pull from some Dahomey women, but he also pulls from one of the rain goddesses, Mujaji, who is named for the South African Mujaji water tribe, which is why when I was looking for a leader, the person to have created the Dormalagia to begin with, that's why I made the leader or the creator Queen Nahanda. That's the page that they already put out, so I'm not spoiling anything.
Yes.
So, and in real life, this group of women that are in real life, it's a matrilineal society. I think to this day, there still is a queen, or there was a princess. There was a death in there somewhere, and I think they had to wait until another child was born. And it's really, really interesting because very early on in the history of these women, men tried to take over. And in order to protect herself, and I'm not even talking about what I mean. This is what I paralleled, but in real life, this is where I pulled this from. This woman only now has women in her court, and she calls them her wives. There's no, she's not married to them. It's not in a sexual manner. It's just a term for their role in her court and in her life. So that was the impetus for me saying, that's what I pulled for Nahanda's story, which you can actually now read. I think those 2 pages I think are up on Marvel.com. Cool. So Nahanda is that's one of the I don't know, exclusive, I would say. Nahanda is actually, it was an exclusive for The Verge, so I can't say it's an exclusive here, but Nahanda is, I made her the founder of the Dora Milaje, and then Nahanda was one of the several Black Panther kings, and I talk about all 16 of them in the book, and because I think people just think it's T'Challa, T'Chaka, and Azuri, and it's like, no, there was a lot, and 2 of them are women.
Yes.
And one of them was Nahanda, and in fact, Jonathan Hickman put her in a book. I believe it wasn't the 20,000. It wasn't 10,000 BC.
Oh, you mean not the Savage Avengers? It wasn't the Savage Avengers.
No, it wasn't the Savage Avengers. It was another one where Nahanda actually had to roll out and help Odin, and actually has the ability to lift Mjolnir. And again, so it's really funny. There's a lot of stuff that people are going to think I made up. I'm like, I didn't write this.
It's been a long run. Like, there's been so many different additions to it.
And shout out to Ta-Nehisi Coates and Jonathan Hickman, who I absolutely love reading their work in the Marvel Universe, because they tell a very long form of telling these stories. And especially Hickman, Jesus Christ, I have his entire...
I got a bone to pick with him, though, because every now and then, like in Fantastic Four, he would just name a Black Panther and not do anything with him, or he would come up with a whole different story. And I'm like, really, though? Really? Because I had this part written. I was good. And now I got to rewrite it because you put a whole nother person in here.
But
Coates'
run on Black Panther was
epic.
It was phenomenal. I enjoyed that entire run.
I'm just gonna be back here with myself.
But I think that what you just like you said, a lot of this book, I only had like 10 weeks to write this book. It was insane.
They put you on a timeline too?
Yeah, they do, everybody, because there's no money. There's no money. So, but the first, I would say, I really felt like I was writing a thesis for the first part of it.
Yeah,
because I was really gathering all this information and going through, and at one point, I don't remember if it was my editor. I don't think it was Marvel. Somebody in there was like, "Oh, we're not sure if we want you to talk about."
What's up, Jay Rich?
Hey, Jason. I don't know if we want you to talk about Doom War. I'm like, well, if I don't talk about Doom War, you don't have Midnight Angels, and you don't have some of the weaponry that they use that was not vibranium. So what are we gonna do? Because nobody else uses that stuff. And they were like, oh, I'm like, yeah, and I kind of need to use Shuri's whole crew in there. So what's good?
Yeah.
And then like, how are we gonna not, like, I know you don't want it because you're worried I'm talking about Doom. I'm like, I don't have to talk about Doom, but I have to talk about the Midnight Angels, because people think the Midnight Angels came from Ta-Nehisi Coates, and they didn't. They came from Doom War.
Before that. Yeah. That's where he popped in.
And Deadpool. I'm like, can I talk about Deadpool? And they if you squint again,
there's a lot of squinting.
Yeah. Well, because one of the things that I was allowed to do, which is one of the things that I love about the book, and you'll see it if you look up on the site, is different Dora would write in the margins. So I came up, so I had like the journal, and each journal entry was written by somebody, and then I had another crew of different people that would just make notes. Even Zara Ravi is in there talking about, like, I don't know why I get so much hate for this, because everybody lived, like, so there's so there's all kinds of little things that I got to do, which were a lot of fun. And somebody asked me if Queen Divine Justice is in the she is, but remember, Queen Divine Justice, by the time Ta-Nehisi Coates got to her, was just Asura. Mm-hmm. So Asura is in the book. I'm not going to tell you where, but she's in there. But because
you want to find out about where this book is, the link is in the comments, and the link is right here. Get your
you can pre-order. Yes, you can.
But I've already got mine.
It was, I think, for comic book fans and fans of Black Panther, it's going to be a lot of fun. But I also had to think about people who had not read all the comics that might only know the movie. What I will say that was really wonderful was so much of Black Panther, the movie, artistically was taken from Coates Run, specifically Brian Stelfreeze's artwork, that there are things that I was allowed to allude to that were nice. That was really, really nice. So, but yeah, I had to write some, because it still is, where are these women coming from? And again, they come from all over Wakanda. So not everybody is Wakandan. Or if they're Wakandan, they're not all from the same tribe. And what I'm really excited about is that I found this out about 2 months ago, but now everybody found out this week. Evan Narcisse, great author, wrote a fantastic Black Panther run that really gave really some background history to T'Chaka a few years back during the Coates run. He has a book coming out. Well, it was supposed to come out after, I think now it's coming out before, called The Wakanda Atlas. And it is laying out all of the parts of Wakanda in intergalactic and here and everything.
Man, Jay Rich, J1
Did you get any backlash or anything that you wrote?
Or pushback?
I was gonna say backlash is gonna happen when the book drops and fans decide to do Don't give me the PTSD yet, Jason. Come on, give me a minute.
Backlash, we have your back. Like, I'm always ready to fight. Like, we got you.
The only pushback I got was, and I don't know, Jason, I don't know if you were here when I talked about this, where they were worried that I was going to portray the girls as child brides, and I'm like, no. And again, that was going back to the fact that when I'd mentioned that when Christopher Priest first wrote Black Panther, he wrote him through the eyes of Everett Ross, and it was Ross who was sort of ogling them, but they were grown, and
it still got problematic,
right? And also, there's a book. I don't know if I have it. There's a book that came out this year, also called Okoye, written by Ibi Zoboi, and it is a fantastic book, and it's another YA book where Okoye is on her first mission, and it happens to be to the United States, and she ends up in Brooklyn, which is awesome, because I live in Brooklyn, but that's another example. Like, it's supposed to be like a few years after that, about 5 or 6 years after that, she's sort of in her 20s. So, and it was so funny because Ibi and I never talked, and when she wrote that, I'm like, oh my god, it slots in perfectly. It's like these two books could work together, and it was great.
I just wanted to mention, like, I love the way you're describing your book and the way you're having like the context here and the way language is used. I'm such a big fan of how language is used, but it also sounds like you have so much care, so much knowledge, and so much heart into this book. So thank you so much for explaining this, and like,
oh yeah, no, absolutely,
like, oh my gosh, and I'm extremely excited to read this. So thank you, and that whole
you're welcome. You're welcome.
And I know you mentioned like folks that just know Dora from the movie, but I feel like everything you put into this, like, people are gonna pick it up, and people are probably gonna go back and read other editions. And other books. That's
my goal. And then I don't know if you have TikTok or not, but a lot of people are like, last year were seeing when the Dora Milaje section of the Disney Burbank, I think, location opened up, and they had their whole thing, and they had little black girls that were in there, like, doing the chants and everything. One thing that I did do was, there are 5 core things that they always chant out, about, and again, I don't want to give it all away, although let me check, maybe if it's already out, I can say this. Hang on, I was just checking to see what's on this page. Okay, yeah, so I can. So they talk about the 5 tenets of Dora Milaje, which are tradition, honor, strength, courage, and compassion. And I made those chapters in the book. And I'm really hoping that this is something, like, I have a little niece, and I want her to be able to, like, when she's old enough, to be able to look at it and go, nope, I'm using one of the tenets today. I'm not going to fight, or I'm not going to be, because one of the things that I show is, because these women are always looked at as like, we're warrior women and we fight all the time. And it's like, yeah, but you would die if that's all you did. So I literally have times where, I have, recovery and mourning, like these, and these women these are your sisters. You're also going to fight with them, but this is your family. And so they're not nuns, so to speak, but it's sort of like you are living with your sisters. So I tried to explain how everything, living conditions, what you wear, what you graduate to wearing. And I even tried to acknowledge, like, okay, not some people. Yeah, I hope, Louis, I want to go to Disneyland one day and see the Book in the Bookshop, and then I'll cry.
I will go together. We'll go together.
I would love to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was also thinking of sort of like a rites of passage that you see in many African communities. I was thinking of that as well. And I was surprised. I really thought I was going to get a lot more pushback. There's some things I put in there. I'm like, really? We going to stop? Okay. One of the things I was very excited about was I wasn't able to get her for the whole book, which that is still bothering me, but I'll get over it. But for a lot of the book, I was able to get Aletha Martinez to do a lot of the art. So if you see the outfits and stuff that are being worn,
that's incredible.
Yeah, and Aletha Martinez was one of the original artists that drew the Dora during Priest run. She was one of those artists that did interior pages. So like the main artist would do some of the main ones, and then she was one of the artists that would just draw. So she's it was wonderful for me to be able to bring her back in. And then I have the incredible artist Sheba Maya, who did my chapter paintings, or she painted my chapter inserts, and you can see some of that on the page too. Yeah, I want people to cosplay these as well, which is why they couldn't figure out why I was going so hard. Like, there was not, as a writer, I don't have a lot of say in the art. But when they got some of the weapons wrong, and then when they got some of the outfits wrong, when I say wrong, I mean, you're going through edits, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is not, we're not doing that.
That's not what I was feeling. That's not what I was talking about. That's not what it was. We're not doing it.
And honestly, I wish we had more time to do it. But again, this is not a comic book. It's a prose book. So not only did I not have control over the art, they didn't spend that much time on it.
But you put so much into it. It's beautiful. Everything you just said is just beautiful. I'm so happy for you. So excited that you talking to us. Oh my gosh.
I have so many so you had different levels of training. Because see, you're talking to someone who's been a Black Panther stan since he was 12.
Nice.
So I know about the shadow magic he learned after being mortally wounded prior to Doom making the vibranium inert, or T'Challa making the vibranium inert so Doom couldn't use it. And being mortally wounded and then coming out and having basically to retrain himself. So he had to learn shadow magic. The Dora, you mentioned the Midnight Angels, which I was so glad you mentioned them. And were there other levels of training? Was there stuff you had to look up, like fighting styles or just African rituals that you had to look up for that dealt with this?
There were certain things that I definitely looked at. Well, first of all, I should understand, I grew up on like Saturday and Sunday morning martial arts films. So I wrote the fighting chapters first. They're like, what about courage? I'm like, let me just get the weapons out because I know what I want. So yeah, I can't give everything away, but it always bothered me that, although I think there's a recent comic that they did this as well, but I was like, I just feel like the Komoyo beads just being a bracelet is just such a waste of, like, couldn't they be other things too? Like,
if it's up to Sherry, I'm pretty sure it is other things.
Right. So exactly. So, but I just mean like, we could have like, I actually, I'm not allowed to give away some of the stuff that I created, but I did come up with a whole bunch of different types of Komoyo beads, what they're used for. Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, I have short range weapons, mid range weapons, long range weapons, fighting styles from, God, I'm trying to think of, again, what can I say?
Seriously, I'm gonna role play with your book, like D&D style.
Yeah, listen, I would love it if somebody came up with a whole thing, but like everybody wants to talk about.
Now you got it out there. It's gonna happen. Now you put it out there. That's right. Order the book. Pre-order the book. That's right.
Yes. Pre-order the book. Pre-order the book. So yes, like, so for instance, like people talk about, Eskrima stick fighting, but there's a similar stick fighting style in Trinidad, and so sort of mixing that up. Also different fighting styles for different people. Okay, I can't give away who it is, but there's somebody who is small. They're just petite, and she was like basically getting her ass kicked, and she had to figure out a different fighting style to use, and it turned out like Penkat Salat was gonna work because she's little, and using, that's what I'm saying. So if you are a fighting style fan or whatever, it's not perfect because I couldn't go in like I wanted to, but there's different levels and stuff that you have to use, and then also you have to fight with what you're not strong with.
That's right, Jay Woods.
Oh wow.
Let me tell you, Jason does card games. He just created a shooter, so he's one of the ones. He's like, don't tempt him to start developing a game based on fighting styles.
You know what, Jay? No, but everything from like Nguni stick fighting to Angolan capoeira to because, and here's the thing, they do have weapons. If anybody who read Doom Wars seen that they have weapons, but also there's Agents of Wakanda. They have weapons too. So it's not just about the 3 spears that you see everybody carrying. Also, those spears can break apart and do different things. They, but and then the other thing that came out of some of the comics was the fact that anybody who's been in Wakanda long enough has a certain amount of vibranium that has just been absorbed into their skin. So that has an effect on things too. I'm not going to say what. So there's all kinds of things there's all kinds of things that I was able to come up with. And even some of the comics that you saw, they had to fight symbiotes. They had to fight. So there's symbiote weapons. And none of your weapons are going to work if you have to go up against the psionics. So how do you fight them? So yeah, so that is the fighting part. But then there's also like the healing part. When you are not in fighting, what are you doing? You are meditating, you are resting, you are learning, you are,
it's giving such humanity, by the way. Like, you're giving like such a human connection to these characters, these women, that some folks are probably introduced to them, and it's nice to see the warrior side, and it's nice to see the human side of that too, because there are after effects after wars.
Absolutely. Absolutely, especially the stuff that they go through, and they can't talk to anybody about it.
Yeah. You need like a therapy session on Thursday.
Listen.
That's why Bucky didn't want to leave. He was like, "Are you kidding? I don't want to leave.
Yeah,
I'm at peace here."
You know what? And I just thought about something when Jason asked, "Was there pushback?" There's one thing that's always bothered me that I was not able to change, and that is in all of the comic book lore of Marvel lore. In the entire universe, both in movies, TV, and across animation, nobody in Wakanda has a last name. And that has always made me crazy. We can name Loki and Thor's family for 4 generations, and they've got 7 names apiece. And this is one of those things where when you're writing a book as an African American that is based on a fictional African country that was created by white people, you run into some of those things. Because someone was like, well, would they have last names? I'm like, I don't know an African that doesn't have like 7 names. So yes. But that was not something that I was allowed to do. The closest that I've ever seen is in Jason Aaron's run, one of my favorite Black Panther comics. The See Wakanda and Die, and it was part of the Scroll run. And I tell people, wait, can I curse on this?
Yes, please. Okay.
So it fucking around and find out was a comic.
Yes. Yes.
That is what this comic is.
People,
please do.
People have asked me, and I told them, I said, this is when he was married to Storm. And the Skrulls called themselves invading Wakanda. They sent down a super Skrull plus an Armada.
Who thought he was gonna go home and see his wife that evening? That was what was so crazy. He was having a whole conversation about like, I just need to get back to my wife. I'm tired of these black people. Yeah. And it was like, what? But in that run, some of the Wakandans that died, Jason gave them names. Like this was, I'm making this up. Wakabi, the butcher from such and such, and I was like, see, that is what so when you mentioned humanity just now, that was what made me think of it, because so many of our characters don't get humanity. And the Dora Milaje, what I had to do was really a lot of research, and then what it was just taking these threads of where we had seen them and placed them and bringing them together into these different stories. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's too meta. I hope somebody likes it.
No. Oh my god!
Have you looked over my shoulder? Like it's right. Yeah. Like, I couldn't even. If I could show you the rest of the office, you'd be like, "Oh yeah, he's not kidding."
But I actually am very blessed because I didn't ask to do this. I actually, in my 10-year plan, didn't have writing a book on it until much later, and someone at the publishing house, for those of you who don't know, Marvel just really uses subsidiaries, so they'll like license books to different publishers or whatever. So the publisher actually reached out to me. I do know one person who recommended me, but I never found out who the second person was. So I'm still, whoever you are, thank you. And so yeah, this was the scariest thing and the hardest thing I've ever had to do. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into it, but I really hope everybody loves it.
This has been something beautiful.
Gonna be incredible.
Still got a few minutes. I want to get one more out the way.
Okay.
So this is one of Tracy's questions I had. For the characters in your book, how did you get into the breakdown of the training, the purpose of the kingdom, or better yet, what inspired you in the research you did for the book?
It kind of went both. Those are intermingled. I will say, because Coates did so much lore, background lore, especially remember when Shuri was basically kind of caught between two worlds.
Yeah.
They thought she was dead, but she really wasn't. Her spirit was just walking Jalia with with
grills and
right, exactly. But a lot of that lore, a lot of those stories, I gathered a lot of those for a lot of the spiritual story. And then that, along with the F4 run that Hickman wrote when T'Challa no longer had his powers and he became the king of the dead.
Yes.
And Shuri was queen. And it's so funny because when I say Shuri's queen, people go, Shuri was never queen. And I'm like,
yes, she was.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm like, literally Queen Regent. Yes. Fought Claw and everything.
Right.
Was ready to kill Namor on the spot.
Took out half his.
Just miss certain things, Some people just miss certain things.
So, but yeah, so a lot of that was what I gathered up and really dug into that lore. So when I was looking for like a spirituality or something for the characters, I was kind of going in there. That I did a lot of research on African and Caribbean, I should say, diasporic fighting styles. And there's a lot that are very similar. So like I was saying, Eskrima and Nguni stick fighting are very similar. There's also different physical fighting styles that's very similar. And there's also things that were in comics that just, I don't know if everybody read. Like there's a really great run called, and it's funny because there was 3 different names for it, and it really bothered me because I felt like people didn't read it because they couldn't find it. There was a Black Panther run written by, oh my goodness, the only other Black woman to write in the comics. She wrote Binti.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
It's bothering me.
It's on the tip of my tongue. I know I
Nettie Okorafor. Woo. Okay.
Yes.
So Nettie Okorafor, she ready to get the book.
She's probably got it at the. She's got it at the ready.
So Nettie, it was a Wakanda, sort of like a Wakanda Forever series, but it was really Amazing Spider-Man, and Spider-Man was in every journey. Well, one journey was Spider-Man, then the next one was with the Avengers, then there was X-Men, but it all had the Dora in New York trying to stop Nakia.
Yes.
And all that history with the drum and that version of vibranium, that was the fascinating history going into the history of vibranium, because there's not just one. There's this vibranium, there's a vibranium in Antarctica, there's a vibranium that
Savage Lands,
right? Yeah. But there's another one she created in that book, and she brought it to Black Panther: Long Live the King when she wrote that. And so I'm not saying this is my story. I'm saying these are the elements I was able to use. It's called Mimic 23, and I was able to talk about all of these things that people are going to think I made them up. And even in my edit sessions, they were like, "Well, we don't know if you could say that." I'm like, "I didn't say it. Somebody else did." Because that was my only rule.
World of the encyclopedia of all the Black Panthers.
Right. There's only exactly. And that was the other thing I was able to do, was basically, because when we're talking about the history of them, I was able to come up with the history of each of the Black Panthers. All those Black Panthers that you see in when he becomes King of the Dead and he gets that avatar state and he can channel all of them. I got to write stories about each of them. And then those stories relate to other things. So it was just, like I said, it was just one thread after another to kind of weave the base of this thing. And then it just trying to make this fabric of a story. And again, when I say story, the underlying theme is the history that I was putting together of Wakanda and of the gods and of the people, and then how the Dora support that. But yeah, it's just, I kind of got into everything. Like, what happens to retire if you don't die on the field? What happens if you're 76 years old and you're a Dora? Where'd you go? What do you do? No, I'm serious.
You're just a badass woman. That's all. You're a badass old woman.
Right, but think about it.
You don't go over there because
think about it. But think about Star Wars and the librarian. Even the librarians in Star Wars at the base had lightsabers. Like, even they could fight. So, like, think about, like, even your lunch lady could probably kill somebody if she had to. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's the kind of stuff that I was able to do.
It's like a bunch of John Wicks that just mind their own business. What I'm saying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't start none.
Yeah.
Won't be none.
Man, this has been a great conversation. I'm definitely having to have you back on again when this book drops. But I
can actually talk about it.
Yes.
Yes.
This is going to be something amazing.
Year has been incredible. So I would love to do a part 2.
Oh yeah, I'm all out. Yeah.
Yes, they're like Mike Tyson.
They're all like Mike Tyson. What kind of Holmes retirement community? Because let's face it, nobody's gonna fight Mike Tyson even now. Like Roy Jones Jr. found that out the hard way.
No, but that just having those conversations, and even the concept of Pan-Africanism, which is something else Nettie Okorafor started, and the Agungun Society that was she created, all of that has an effect on this book. And I remember some other people have commented like, "Oh, it's going to be one of those we hate black men books," and I'm like, I don't even understand how you got that from this. They actually call him beloved, but okay.
Feelings. No,
yes, exactly. But it really isn't. It's not. And I keep trying to tell people about this, like when you're thinking and looking at your stuff, people who are looking at things as fans. Just because somebody is a fan of something, is really excited about something, doesn't mean they don't like your thing. It's not an insult. Just let people like what they like.
I always find it funny.
That's what we would not be here.
And take away from another. It's like you don't take away from something else just because I like waffles doesn't mean I don't like pancakes.
Right, exactly. And so it's like
I like waffles right now. That's all it is.
Yeah, I like waffles right now.
And so
except for bacon. You know, when somebody says I don't like bacon, you gotta look at them funny. You know, you gotta give them that look like. You mean you gotta give them that cross look like we don't mess with them because they don't like bacon. You know, yeah.
I love my skiers in there.
So, man, Blurred Girl, the Blurred Girl, Karama Horne. I couldn't thank you enough for coming on. This was a major win in my book, I think. I gotta give it to you, right? There we go. We don't get that kind of money yet.
Y'all are hilarious.
But
thank you. DVDs, you're doing something.
Yes. We're partnering with some people. So we want to thank everybody. We want to thank everybody for the comment section. It was going in crazy now. The world is trying to be black and white, even though it's made of grays. There you, Jay Rich, you couldn't be wrong. You couldn't be wrong. You're definitely hitting the nose right there. I want to thank everybody for tuning in.
Hype.
Yes. You know.
Thank you, Louis. Thank you, Quinn. This is part of my crew. Thank you all so much for hanging out. They're actually part of my Discord. People who are my Patreon subscribers and Twitch subscribers join my Patreon, and they're my amazing family at this point.
So if you guys are watching the show, or once it goes up live tomorrow again, hit that hashtag Chris Pine. You get a free DVD copy. The box is around. I can't reach it.
I can't reach your hype team, your family. That is so beautiful.
I'm very lucky.
Yes, that is so beautiful. It's so good to see that. Yes, support Black women.
Please. Support. They bring in so much love and so much energy and so much just creativity, and it's there. In the cosplay community, in the comic community, in the geek community, period. Let's just do that. We need that. You want a DVD? You know what to do, Jay. I got you. You know what to do. I got you.
Jason's like, I don't know. He's like, yes,
Jason's my boy.
He's like, support Black women. Give me the
DVD. Jay, my boy, he know what's up. I hit him up later. But once again, thank you for coming on. If you want to get that book, let me pull that back up there. There you go. If you want to get that pre-order of the book, it drops September 20th, I want to say.
Yep, September 20th.
September 20th.
I believe it or not, and this is not just me, but Marvel does not pay for book tours. So if you are interested in joining the Patreon, or I'm also going to be having a sort of, not a GoFundMe, but a link that people can put. It'll be up on my page
like
for the book
or something.
Yeah. So if people want to support and help me come to your city so I could do a signing.
Oh yeah, if you're ever out in LA.
Because getting out of here ain't free now, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Gas is high.
Yes, it is. That's what I'm saying. I'm going to sell a kidney to just gas a car. So
man, where else can they find you?
I am the Blurred Girl everywhere. THEBLERDGURL. If you follow me on Twitter, I spend a lot of time on. TikTok, I'm also spending a lot of time on. But I'm also hanging out with my Discord and Patreon crew. I also game. Actually, I'll be up tomorrow morning. I do a Friday morning stream, just chill games. And then Saturday matinee, which is we watch a sci-fi movie and a short on Saturdays at 4 p.m. Eastern. And over on Twitch, twitch.tv/TheBlurredGirl. So, and it's just chill. It's literally one of my favorite things to do every week because it's like the only time I relax.
They do that now. I didn't know what they did. I didn't know they do that now.
I am.
But I appreciate your time. I appreciate you coming on. What Jay Rich say? We be free around November 5th or 6th. Oh, because he's got. So Jason Richardson, he's a good friend of the show. I'm gonna put it because Jay, you know I got you, buddy. He's a good friend of the show. He runs a black anime convention, one of the longest black running anime conventions in the country. It's called J1. J1Con.
Wait. From the Tribbles. That's right?
Yeah.
I never knew Jay's last name. I know who Jay is. When you said longest running anime convention, I'm like, that's J1. I'm like, I never knew Jay's last name. All right. Hi.
Look at the connection. You see it? Boom. And
well, here's the thing, Jay. He said, hey girl. So here's the thing. One of my signings is gonna be at Amalgam Comics and Coffee the week of the book.
Shout out to them too.
That's definitely happening. Yes, she's amazing. That's happening. 21st, 22nd. So I'm gonna definitely be in Philly then, and then I'm up here. I definitely have signings there's gonna be a schedule that goes up soon. For Forbidden Planet, Anyone Comics. Like I'm doing close to home, New York, New Jersey. I'm also doing a lot of black bookstores here so that I can get there cheap. November, it's possible that down there because my mom by where are y'all doing it in Atlantic City again? Yeah. My mother lives off Atlantic City Expressway. Yeah, I'll call you.
Look at that. Oh, look at Chris Fury did it again.
I'm just tripping. I didn't know Jay's last name.
Live connection here. I love that.
I love that. I love it. Traci.
Just to say, like, if you're in LA, like I'm based in LA, so if you ever want to, if you need a place to stay out here, I got you.
Oh no, I will absolutely. Yeah, but one of the things I'm trying to do.
He said, "Call me."
He said, "Call me. I got you." Look at this. One of the things I'm trying to do is like when the book drops, I'm trying to get to all of the conventions and get to everything. So, and I have friends in LA and Pasadena and stuff too. It's just trying to plan it and get out there at a certain time. So again, I'm going to be launching this page very soon, and hopefully everybody who contributes will get a signed copy. I'll tell you that much. It's just getting a hold of them.
Once again, get the book.
Get the book. Get the book.
Here, let's throw that up there again. Go to the link, pre-order the book right there. Right under her page.
And if you go to that, that's Amazon. But if you do, I know some people feel some kind of way about Amazon. If you follow me on Twitter or Instagram, and you click on my beacons, my link in bio, there is a link there that gives. Nice. Then if you're working in Burbank, you fly me out, Jay. You got it like that. He dropping Burbank in the chat.
Like he knows I'm hitting him up. Right. I'm like, hey, yo, dude, we already got to work together. Let's do it.
So, but if you are Amazon averse, click the link in my bio on Twitter or TikTok, and that link will show you a bunch of different bookstores as well as a whole list of Black-owned bookstores that you can order the book from.
That's fantastic.
Which you should do anyway, but
yeah, I want to say, like, we probably should do that, like, a little bit, like, plug that.
Well, unfortunately, the problem is, unfortunately, the powers that be don't count your pre-orders towards like any kind of bestseller list or anything unless they come from one of the big three, like Books A Million or Barnes and Nobles or Amazon.
So he says the mouse likes me, but not that much.
But yeah, I'm trying, and I'm also partnering with a few other bookstores. I know Afroware I'm going to be partnering with. And again, if anybody knows any Black bookstores in Atlanta and stuff, hit me up and let me know where I should be going, because I'm trying to hit as many places as possible.
Right on.
Fall and winter.
Man, thank you for coming on. Thank you for, you got my support. Those who come on the Blerd's Eye View and they talk to Chris Fury, Jason is one of them. He'll tell you flat out, if I say I got you, I got you.
Well, I appreciate that. I got you.
Whatever you need, just put it out there. Like, Chris, I need it. Let me know. Let me see what I can do. So I appreciate you because you put out that media kit. So now I'm going to start putting that to work.
Yes,
I got to get new headshots.
See, well, and you don't have to go crazy on that either. That is something else I'm going to be launching very soon. I have one of my Patreon tiers is just going to be for business and for just do more stuff like that. I have I have podcasters that don't do video that are like, listen, I'm really small. Do I need a media kit? And I'm like, yes. And I'm going to be doing just a smaller podcast version of the media kit, and then I'm also going to be showing, like, I'm kind of a one-woman show. I do have a couple people who help me at this point. But before that, it was really all me. And I have a lot of different shortcuts and apps and stuff like that I use. And I'm going to be teaching and showing people how I do what I do. So hopefully that will help pay for a plane ticket or two.
The Blur Girl's going to take over. I'm just going to put it out there right now.
There it
is.
is.
Blur Girl's literally going to take over.
Hey, it's better ran when the Blur Girls do it. I'm going to tell you right now.
Right.
Traci, tell everybody where they can find you.
Hi, Traci here, mostly on IG at Crazy Car 77.
And guess what, everyone? I'm your man on the wall, Chris Fury. You can always find me on Blur's Eye View at IG. You can go to the IG, you go to the link in the bio. It will take you to all the socials, including the YouTube channel. So hit that notification bell and see some unseen stuff that you see anywhere else. But I want to thank our guest, Karama Horne, the Blurred Girl.
Thank you so much.
Giving us so much inspiration, giving us some insight on Protectors of Wakanda. We didn't get a chance to get around to Stranger Things, but that's all right because we still got a lot of time to talk about those crazy kids from Hawkins. But until next time, remember to educate yourself and others, entertain yourself and others, and most of all, encourage yourself and others. I'm Chris Fury with my cousin. Well, cousin might as well be my cousin. Crazy Carr. Might as well be. We're getting so close. We're just too far apart. And with our special guest, Karama Horne, the Blurred Girl. Until next time, this is Chris Fury and the crew. We're out of here.
Thank you.